Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. As Jesus was leaving Jericho with his disciples and a sizable crowd, Bartimaeus, a blind man, the son of Timaeus, sat by the roadside begging. On hearing that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to cry out and say, "Jesus, Son of David, have pity on me." And many rebuked him, telling him to be silent. But he kept calling out the more, "Son of David, have pity on me." Jesus stopped and said, "Call him." So they called the blind man, saying to him, "Take courage, get up. Jesus is calling you." He threw aside his cloak, sprang up, and came to Jesus. Jesus said to him in reply, "What do you want me to do for you?" The blind man replied to him, "Master, I want to see." Jesus told him, "Go your way. Your faith has saved you." Immediately he received his sight and followed him on the way. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Today's readings speak to us about the importance of persisting in prayer. The first reading from Jeremiah is a joyful song that was written to proclaim the joy of the Israelites as they were released from their captivity in Babylon to return to their homeland in Israel. The Israelites were in captivity in Babylon for 60 years. 60 years they prayed. 60 years they wrote songs of lament. As a matter of fact, the book of Lamentations in the Old Testament was written during this time. So for 60 years they prayed. And God answered their prayer after 60 years and returned them to their homeland in Israel. In our gospel today, Bartimaeus, a blind man, was begging at the roadside. And I'm sure he had heard stories of what Jesus had done in the area. And so when he heard that Jesus and his disciples were in the crowd that was passing him by, he cried out to Jesus, "Jesus, Son of David, have pity on me. Jesus, Son of David, have pity on me." And those around him told him to be quiet. This is an important man here. Don't disturb him with your voice. But he kept calling all the more, "Son of David, have pity on me. Son of David, have pity on me." Jesus heard him and stopped and called him. And as we heard in the story, Jesus returned his sight to him and told him to go his own way, but he didn't. He followed Jesus. Bartimaeus persisted in prayer. When others told him, "Look, leave him alone. He's not going to do anything for you," he persisted in his prayer. Brothers and sisters, we should always remember to persist in our praying. Storm heaven with our prayers and requests of God. He always answers our prayers. He may not answer them the way we want them to be answered, but he answers every prayer. And And sometimes the answer to that prayer is to not answer the prayer because we have asked for something that's not in our best interests. And God, who is all-knowing, knows what's best for us. So persist in your prayers, brothers and sisters, and trust in the Lord, because Jesus himself told us. In Luke's gospel, he says, "And I tell you, ask and you will receive. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be open to you. For everyone who asks receives, and the one who seeks finds, and to the one who knocks, the door will be opened." Jesus himself told us that all our prayers will be answered. And Jesus is not a liar. Every one of your prayers will be answered. Persist in your prayers, brothers and sisters. I'd like to end by reading an email that I received from a friend of mine who's right now in diaconate formation. He's a couple of years behind me. He'll be ordained in a couple of years, God willing. And 2 years ago, he was diagnosed with a very aggressive form of cancer. And he's been going through many, many treatments and surgeries. Just a couple of weeks ago, he began to bleed extensively. And he had to go in for yet another procedure. And everyone thought that maybe we would lose him. We would lose Joe. But we didn't. The procedure was successful, even though it was kind of a 50-50 shot. It was successful, and it arrested the bleeding. And he wrote to all his friends on email, "Dear friends in Christ, I just went through a terrible episode at the hospital. I was just minutes from joining Jesus in heaven. I believe it was all of your prayers that saved me. I cannot thank you enough for the love and support that you've given me and my wife. I will never forget your gifts of prayer. I can't wait to hug each of you soon. God bless all, your brother Joe." Brothers and sisters, persist in your prayers. They will be answered. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.